I'm dressed up enough for this one. Well, you are pretty dressed up. I am not. I have my X-Men button-up shirt usually, but I can't find it. I think it's in the laundry. Hi, everyone. I got to remember to look at the camera. Welcome back to the Nerdrotic podcast. That camera.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This sucks about life. This is the Nerdrotic podcast. My name is Gary Buechler, and I have drafted my wife, Melissa Wagner, to co-host tonight since my co-hosts abandoned me doing holiday travels and stuff. And we don't want to miss a night of The Gifted. So here we are, live in San Francisco, live on YouTube, recapping. What are they getting like a little long in these X titles now? It's Threat of Extinction, which is actually a pretty good title.
It is.
I don't know if you've been paying attention, but every title of the season has had an X in it, like, you know, extreme measures. And next week's is Outfoxed, which is really.
I thought last week was I Got Your Six.
No, it was the week before.
Oh.
That was the week before.
There's not an X in
that. Yeah, 6. 6.
Gotcha.
There you go. She's tired again. I drafted her. She had a full
it wasn't an obvious X placement.
No.
It was like way at the very end.
Okay, so tonight's episode. This has been kind of a slow burning season. I've enjoyed it. It's had some ripples in it. It's a show in its first season, which is always a bit rough. I think for the most part, it's pretty good. It's ambitious to do a superhero show on network TV. They don't usually do very well. They either get shoved off to the sub network like Supergirl with CW, or they get axed outright like Constantine, a show that we loved quite a bit. This one seems to be doing well, and the good news I heard is I think we are going to get a second season. They're talking about casting other people, so I really hope they keep it up. On the other network, Fox has the FX. They have that show Legion, which you don't like very much, but I freaking love. So I hope these shows cross over. So tonight we find out about the Struckers, and we get to see the Von Strucker twins for the first time, which is pretty awesome. That is some Marvel lore right there. And that opening scene was pretty cool. I liked how what did you say about it? There was 1959 London.
Yes. How they looked like they were so sweet.
Oh yeah, they look like just the cutest little couple that could kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently, their powers get amped up when they hold hands, and this leads directly into Reed. And we have Reed's dad, who I got to look up here on IMDb. Sorry, I should have. Again, this is we're doing this by the seat of our pants tonight because this one almost didn't happen.
I haven't really thought that this has been a slow burn. I felt like it's been pretty steady and building up nicely, and this one seemed like it was the episode that it should have been. It's kind of like cresting a little bit now, but I've thought that the character development has been pretty good.
It has, compared to other shows like Star Trek Discovery, which did not have any at all. It's done a good job. And for network TV, like I've said in the past, network TV, I lower my expectations a little bit. You know, if we're paying for something or watching it on Netflix, I expect a little higher quality. So this one's held up pretty good. This is a Stephen Moyer episode. Bill from True Blood. We watched every episode of True Blood. Really hated that last season.
Last two.
Yeah, the last two were pretty bad. And he goes full Bill in a couple parts of this episode, actually.
I can see it coming through.
So Reed tells Thunderbird that his dad used to work for Trask Industries. Now, if you're just a movie and TV fan, Trask Industries was in Days of Future Past, and they're the ones who created the Sentinels. So Reed's dad used to work for them, so they have to go see him. And Reed hasn't seen his dad since he was a teenager, or maybe in his 20s or something. His kids have never seen Grandpa, but he used to work for Trask. That was kind of a bomb that was dropped. And it looks like Trask Industries is back up and running through Dr. Campbell. And at the end of last episode, we got Reed and Thunderbird we got to see what they were doing with mutants, and we find out in this episode that they're hooking them on a drug. Now, I don't know if the drug was Kick or if it's something like Kick, and Kick is a drug for mutants that heightens up their powers. But they're trying to infiltrate our band of refugees, and they did it in the beginning when I guess we could start back with Lorna and Eclipse and their little fight that didn't last very long. But you really don't want to have Magneto's daughter pissed off at you for whatever reason, even though I think she's, and you said she was overreacting a little bit.
No, I didn't say she was overreacting about the lying, but I was like a little bit of like a reality check there. Like, how do you think you got out? Like, do you really think that they just did that on their own? So I would assume that they must have gotten some extra help somewhere along the way. So I think that it was a little bit unrealistic to think that there wasn't going to be like some debt that went along with getting her out of a heavily protected, like, alternative government facility, right? So I would have been like, how the hell did you do that, Gary? Right? Like, I know you have some abilities and stuff, but it would be like, how did that happen? Like, that didn't come up. Like, how did you like work that out? How did you get me out of there? Like, I would have been curious to know. So, I mean, that would have opened up that conversation. So I just thought that was a little bit unrealistic, but he shouldn't have left it out. Like, by the way, I had to talk to my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
to get the information that we needed. Like,
he said he didn't know how to tell her.
Yeah, you do it just like that.
You do it. I mean, I think you have some goodwill because you broke her out of the prison, like you said. So I think you could probably lay it down and she'd be like, okay, well, thanks for getting me out of the, impossible facility to break out.
Like, I wish you didn't have to do that too, but you did what had to be done at that time. I don't know. It's better than and then lying about it and going off with your ex-girlfriend. That's never going to look good.
Well, that's where the soapiness of network television comes in. We're going to keep secrets. It's all about secrets and talking about feelings in hallways, which we talked about a lot on this podcast. Yeah, it seemed like she was it was just a little bit much. Well, he did the
same thing to what's his name? Firebird, Thunderbird, whatever. And he goes like, John, is everything okay? And he's all, yeah, I'm okay. You're having some real honesty issues. Like, that's always that transparency is always going to be the best policy. And you should always have that,
Well, and, that's kind of a normal thing, though, for a kid who's grown up, in foster homes and his parents bailed up. You have trust issues. So I think, if you dig deep enough, it does kind of make sense that he wouldn't trust. But he's this far in and he's one of the group's leaders.
Yes.
You got to be a little more honest, especially with the people who have your back. So thankfully, their argument didn't last like an entire season, which
ours would have. That's what you were thinking.
I don't know. Would it last that long if I broke you out of
It would last at least 3 episodes.
Oh my God.
Is a pregnant me? Maybe 5.
Maybe. Yeah. I talked about that last podcast too. It's like, yeah, well, let's keep in mind that she is pregnant. So.
Oh yeah.
Pregnant mutant. Yikes. Yikes. I love the part where she's sitting in the bed and the knife is like falling, right? There's a baby in there. What is she doing?
It was more towards her chest.
It was more.
It was like, that's so the kind of stuff you would do.
There just need to be the Cure playing in the background with some Joy Division. That would have made the scene perfect. Right? So there is some other mutants trapped at a church that they need to get out. I guess Sentinel Services is going through and pretty much shutting down every facility, even remotely connected to a mutant. And they find some mutants in a shed, and one of them tries to attack them when a psychic mutant or a telepath kind of susses it out and says, hey, one of these people has got some really messed up thoughts. And we meet Chloe.
So she's one of the infiltrators.
Yes.
She's been placed there by the Sentinel Services.
And her powers were cool. And we finally got like a actual like superhero thing. And it wasn't just people like shooting beams or something out of their hands. It was an actual power. and she kicked Thunderbird's ass pretty good,
Mhm.
and she, you know, it was cool. But you see that they aren't talking. None of these mutants that Trask is working on can communicate. I don't know if they're suppressing that. We really didn't find out like what the hell's going on with that. We know
Not
there's
yet.
we don't know if it's involved with the drug or if they've done something else, which I'm sure they have. So they subdue her and
Botox on the vocal cords.
oh, is that what that does? Maybe. Oh, that sounds horrible.
Kind of freezes them.
It does,
Maybe.
but they won't have wrinkles.
And their vocal cords.
Yeah, I know. So they capture her, Chloe, and while they're trying to figure out what to do, we get Eclipse and Lorna kind of working things out. In the meantime, Reed.
Is that what they were doing?
I guess. Well, no, he was more like, "Oh my God, why are you still mad at me?" You know, like a normal guy. And she's like a normal girl, and yeah, making us suffer needlessly, by the way.
No, because you know what? He's way less likely to do it again.
Okay, save her ass. Okay, yeah, I guess he is way less likely to do it again.
Lie like a rug. No.
And so Reed and John decide to go meet his dad and find out what he knows, Reed's dad, about
Trask Industries.
Trask Industries. And I recognize the actor. I don't know his name. You among the comments can figure it out. He did kind of look like Stephen Moyer in ways. I've seen him. I've seen that guy in a million things, but I don't want to go through IMDb. We kind of had to last minute this thing tonight. So, and he's got a little antique shop, and he tells the story of the Von Struckers, and did they say Von
and
Struckers?
he admits that he's a mutant. Yes, they show him the clippings.
Yep.
News clippings. So it comes out the Von Struckers were his
parents.
Yes.
And Dad's a mutant, and the big bomb is Reed was a mutant, and he got treated. I guess that's the nice way to say it. And Reed had gotten sick as a child, and I think he mentioned that maybe a couple times. And after that, Dad was plagued with guilt and couldn't look Reed in the eye, and he was trying to stop or suppress the X gene. That was what he was doing at Trask Industries to stop another Von Strucker twins, who I guess were monsters. We saw him kill some people in the beginning, and they look like they kind of enjoyed it. We saw the press clippings, and it looks like they wreaked some havoc. I didn't get the chance to read them for any like Easter eggs. I don't know if they're part of the Brotherhood.
I thought they were in German.
They were in London, but they were speaking German.
Right. I think a lot of the clippings were
from Germany.
Yeah.
Okay. So he tried to stop that from happening, and of course Reed has twins, and you know that it could happen.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, so here's my question. So the Von Struckers that had Reed's dad, they weren't brother and sister.
Well, the Von Strucker, maybe no, they weren't both his parents. I'm sorry, maybe that was his dad, because they were twins. So that was his dad.
So
he said it was his dad. Yeah, they weren't married. Sorry, unless there was some Game of Thrones incest stuff going on, which could amplify or distort powers, depending on which. Right. So, and that's from the comics. So he doesn't want that to happen again. He treats Reed. Reed finds out, and of course, Trask Industries finds him right away, and there's Pulse. There's your boy Pulse, and I knew I'd recognized him.
Pulse was Matt from the Vampire Diaries.
Yes.
And again, IMDb, I can't tell you his real name. He hasn't been in much else than that, but yeah.
Is the Vampire Diaries still on? No, it finally ended. Oh, it's Supernatural that's still on. I mean, it ended greatly. Yeah. Hey, I watched like the first.
Well,
few
you can't be like an
okay.
ever-living vampire for like way more than a decade, right?
Well, not when you age, actually.
In real life.
Yeah, in real life. Although they could write that in somehow.
It's like in True Blood, they weren't allowed to like go in the sun. They weren't allowed, there's a lot of stuff they weren't supposed to do because it could cause to, add to the aging process.
Yes. Wow. Yeah.
We're freezing time.
So you were very sad when Pulse died.
I was kind of hoping that they were going to cure him and like get some stuff out of him, and he was going to be a part of the show, and he's already gone. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, that was that was a really good power to have. That would have been nice. But he got killed by Reed's father. Reed's father, when Trask Industries showed up at the antique shop, Reed's father sacrificed himself, gave Reed a big hug, and got shot twice, but he
threw a big
fireballed.
fireball at the Sentinels.
And the only thing he ended up killing was another mutant, and the other guys got away, which sucks.
He seemed to be in pain, though.
Yeah, he did, and I think Thunderbird is finally gonna Johnny's gonna finally lose his cool. He looked really, really pissed that they killed his boy. He's been he has been the cool head throughout this, and I think it's just starting to get to him. And yeah, we had a nice little montage scene of him burying Pulse right next to Reed's father, and when we go back to the compound, they're trying to question Chloe, and they bring in the psychic again, and the empath. And the only thing she figures out is Chloe was taken when a pediatrician wouldn't work on her kid. She freaked out and started tearing the place up. Sentinel Services took her. They took her baby, and then they shot her up with that drug. She could not talk. She was trying to talk. Yeah, killed her husband, and then she died.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 3 deaths in one episode, and we just did a death pool like last podcast with some of the main characters, which I still think some main characters might die. That just seems the kind of thing they're not afraid
Pulse
to do.
And Chloe and
Mr. and Grandpa Strucker.
Oh.
So that was a depressing ending, actually. Now,
I thought it was sweet though.
It kind of was.
Yeah.
You know, but it solidified everything, and you know, we've been going through this podcast thinking, because I've been paying attention to IMDb, I thought it was only going to be like 8 or 9 episodes, but it turns out it's going to be 13. So that's good. Mm. I don't know if we're taking a break, but we definitely are getting one next week. And now that, you know, I think it's kind of moving along pretty good, and it looks like it's building up to something pretty big. I was reading our comments from last week, and you know that there's the July 15th incident. There's the big explosion that caused all this crap. You know, the X-Men disappeared, the Brotherhood disappeared, and that's what gave Sentinel Services, the government gave them the powers to kind of do the Nazi crap that they're doing right now. Even though they've been recently told to be shut down by the State Department, but then they gave one of the mutants from Dr. Cannibal gave her an aneurysm.
Just to burst blood vessels.
Just to buy them a couple weeks. So they got a couple weeks. One of the commenters said that he thinks that maybe Dr. Campbell got one of the mutants, like who knows? I forgot what the mutant he mentioned to do a false flag incident. So it looked like a mutant blew whatever they blew up and killed a bunch of people, and it might be that it was Trask all along or Dr. Campbell all along. I think that's a really good theory.
So that they can just push their own agenda.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So I think going the conspiracy theory route, I think that's a very good theory. Mm-hmm. And I totally believe that, because we were talking about Chase, the Sentinel Services officer, who we did not see this episode, possibly turning, and it looks like he's kind of on his way. He's a perfect character for that. And Matt Nix, he's been known to do that stuff. Matt Nix did Burn Notice. I don't know if you watched Burn Notice with Bruce Campbell. So that's probably where that's going. I'm a little disappointed with Blink's storyline. She's my favorite character from the X-Men that's in this. I was a huge Exiles fan. I love that comic, by the way. And while it was good for emotion that you know, that where she was portaling to was this group home that she was at, and that she also met a girl from that group home. And in a real quick scene, she got Dreamer to take away her nightmares of remembering people getting shot. So in this episode, through death and tragedy, everybody with conflict in the group has kind of gotten back together. We got Eclipse and Lorna came back together. Blink and Dreamer can kind of tolerate each other now. They have probably a workplace relationship. Like, you know, like what did Blink say?
They're on the same side.
They're on the same side. I don't have to like you as long as we're just on the same side of the fight.
Yeah.
Johnny kind of bonded with Reed at the end, through death. So it looks like the team's like we've gone through our little bit of conflict, and looks like the team is getting back together. I don't know what stood out this episode for you. What was your favorite part besides your boyfriend dying?
Well, I was a little disappointed that we won't be seeing Pulse come and get cured and come on and be a part of the team. So let's not forget that the twin girl, sort of has a little falling out with her boyfriend, and he gets transferred to another camp. Right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, but they make up, but he still goes off to the other camp. I think it's really nice how they're still trying to parent their kids through all of this, by like spending time and stuff with them. And the empath reads into the mom's mind. I keep wanting to call her Fred.
Yeah,
she's always going to be Fred to me.
Be Fred, yeah.
She reads into her mind that she doesn't want to end up on the opposite side of her as her children, and I'm like, that's really what you're going to have to keep working at, because it's really easy to be on the opposite side, and that's why a lot of those kids are there, because they just get kicked out by their parents when they turned out to be mutants. They're like, okay, bye, and they automatically are always on the opposite side. I love the way that it ended, because, when they were talking to Grandpa Reed, right? When they were talking to him, he was like, have they held hands yet? And at the very end, you see them, like, when Bill walks in and he's all upset about seeing his dad after all those years, and he just dies in that, like, same moment. And, he doesn't even get the words out, but, she can see that that's going on. So I thought that was a really good close, that, she went to him, and the kids are like, we don't know what's really going on, but, at least we have each other, and they hold hands. And it's like, where's this going? Because one pushes things together and the other tears things apart. So it really makes you wonder, like, when that comes together, does it just like cancel stuff out?
Yeah,
right?
that would be.
So they're already, for how young they are, turning out to be super powerful on their own. So it's going to be really interesting. I think that's going to be the big movement, is because those two are so popular anyway. And so good at their part. So good.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's going to be all about them kind of from going on out and sort of like reconciling, like, being a moody teenager and then having all those powers, because you see she's a little bit Buffy, a little bit self-righteous.
Yep.
A little too good, sometimes, and very conscientious, and he tends to be a little less thoughtful, a little more arrogant, a little more of a rebel, right?
A little bratty.
Yeah, and not too bad though. I mean, he definitely likes his time with dad and all of that, but he's the hot-headed one, so I can see that there's going to be that good cop, good kid, bad kid kind of yin yang of how their balance is going to work. And if you think about it, it's like she pushes things together, he tears them apart. I mean, that's kind of like how they're going to be. Like he's very destructive, where she really wants to like keep things together. So it's like they're going to really need each other to like keep things in check. So
yeah, and Grandpa Strucker also mentioned that they're kind of beyond mutants. They're like a super mutant, especially when they're together. They're part of the wolves. That Dennis was mentioning that.
I don't know what that means.
That's actually from, there was the hounds in the comic, so they called it the wolves in this one. I think they used the German word for wolf, but yeah, again, no time to research before I started this podcast.
Well, I mean, at least you read these comic books. I'm like, at least you had a few years to catch up on your reading. I didn't really read that one.
Well, yeah, and I'm like not super X-Men fan. I read peripheral, I read Uncanny X-Men and the Exiles, and every Wolverine book ever made. So, yeah, that's going to be interesting coming along, because I think it would be interesting to make one of them a villain at some point if this show goes on long enough. This show has great potential, and it feels, John and I were talking about how this feels like Angel a little bit, a little Angel, little Buffy going on.
Yeah, but in the best possible sense. I mean, I already like it way more than I liked Heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like this girl much more than Hayden Panettiere. That didn't really ever like draw me in, and this one, I don't know, she just connects a lot better, and the whole family dynamic is always such a good thing to have underlying, because it's always, everybody has their birth order and something that they can connect to in that,
Yep.
right?
Yeah, definitely. So Grandpa also said, protect the kids and protect the world from the kids,
Right.
So there's the potential of having to maybe put your own kids down. That's a bad thing to think about.
Protect the world from your kids. Well,
Yeah.
I think that they're gonna do that through like making sure they're always on the same side.
Yep. So the other thing this show does need to do is, like, every mutant has been an angel so far. That's not how X-Men works. X-Men works because there are bad mutants. So the reason you have the bad mutants is because right now the humans just look like crazy racist Nazis. Now there's crazy racist Nazis in real life, or there's racist and bigoted people. That's a normal thing. But there's also the people who are just afraid. Okay, so like they had the July 15th incident to use, but they've never shown that to us. It's only been referred to. We saw it peripherally.
Some
But
little flashback.
they need to like bring up, and maybe they're just trying to show, maybe this compound or wherever they're in like splits up at some point, because there's always like a brotherhood and an X-Men. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, right now the bad mutants are just forced to be bad through a drug. Okay, so they're certainly setting up right now it's just man versus mutant. Okay, and clearly it's just kind of simple. We're just kind of rooting for the mutants because the men are just bad. I mean,
Right.
Trask Service is just bad. There's nothing, and I don't know. I look for something a little more layered in my television. And
well, the waters are going to get muddy, right? Because anytime you have any sort of faction, you always have like the ones who are following the rules, and then you have the extremists. You have the ones that are like the kind of good ones, and the ones who always sort of take that stuff too far. So, I mean, we're already seeing that with the dad. That's already been kind of laid out there, where he's like, you're not the prosecutor today.
Yep.
Right. So he's always seen things this very one-dimensional way, and now he's realizing like, hey, a lot of that stuff that we were doing for that good was really like very one-sided and very self-serving, and really wasn't that great for some other people. So that's going to become more convoluted.
Yep. Yeah, and that's again, that's why it's got great potential, and I know why they dumb these things down, because network TV tries to do that sometimes. I just don't feel they need to. There's so many, like, I just got finished watching Punisher. That was crazy good.
Well, I
and
think that
sophisticated.
you want to have some, because it's network TV. You're going to have to not dumb it down, but you do have to have a little bit of simplicity, because what if somebody just stumbles upon an episode? You want to be able to have them follow it enough to draw them in, to make them interested enough to go back and watch it, right? So it's like you want to have it layered, but you want to also have it be not a standalone per se, but you want to be able to have it be understood and be able to be tangible.
Yeah, and that can be the frustrating thing for the comic fan or the Star Trek fan or the Star Wars fan, because they're going for mass appeal. And with comic book stuff, I think I can't remember what podcast I said, like, they're way past pleasing us. Like the hardcore comic fan, like we're used up and thrown away.
Of you? No,
yeah,
just kidding.
Yes, all five. We are
five.
many. We are legion. We are many. And yeah, they know we're going to show up. So like they're
But look at it like a lead-in, like somebody who really likes this. It's like that standalone episode. It's like if it draws them in and they watch more of the season, they're like, hey, you know what? I really like that. I want to go back and read the books that it was based on. How many times do you like catch something and go, oh my God, that was so good. I can't get enough. I want to go back and read the books. True Blood. But I think we watched the first or second season, and I ended up reading 11 books and then I passed up where we were on the show by the time I got caught up to it, because you get drawn in enough and interested enough to really geek out and find all the material related to it. And that's where it's like, that's the real fandom.
When you turned me on to Game of Thrones that summer, I'll never forget. I burned through all the
And
books.
Buffy.
And well, Buffy, yeah, Buffy. I jumped in super late and just caught up, and and it was hard to catch up back. There was no like Netflix. I had to get DVD and walk uphill both ways in San Francisco, and the hills are steep here. Okay, Jesus Christ. So it was a good episode.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying the show. I think it's really finding its pace. It's finding its rhythm. It's not perfect by any means, but this is the kind of show, like by season 3, it could be really good. Like really, really,
I think
really
the special effects are pretty good too. For
yeah.
network television.
For network, it's not bad. I've seen better. I've seen worse. They were better than the Justice League movie. That's for sure.
It's better than some other things that we're paying a subscription to.
Yep. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, well done, Fox. I enjoyed the episode. Any final words? We're gonna cut this one out because you gotta get to bed. We gotta work tomorrow. So thanks for subbing, honey. I really appreciate it, especially last minute. Like I literally, like it was like 5 minutes before
I'm glad
we started.
that I was caught up.
Yeah, me too. Wonder how we shot one.
We did?
We did.
We did?
Okay. So yeah.
Half.
Yes, that's it. That's it. We can't stop the signal. If you want to find all of our podcasts and videos, go to nerdrotic.com. If you're watching us live now, you're on the Nerdrotic channel. Please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. I have a Twitter. It's at Nerdrotics. That's plural. Melissa has one. It's at Agent Bossy Boots because she is a Bossy Boots. My co-host John is at John Reed 16, and my other co-host Dennis is at DeForce. We are going to be doing The Runaways tomorrow night. I'm very excited. I guess 3 episodes are dropping.
Right?
Yeah, premieres. 3 episodes are dropping. 9:30 p.m. right here. John and I will be here covering The Runaways. And then Wednesday night, it's Mr. Robot, which is the best show on TV right now. So, yeah, look out for our news podcast, episode 110. Yeah, that should be out tomorrow or something like that. So, yeah, that's it. Goodbye, everybody. Thanks for watching. Have a good night. And John and Dennis better be back.